All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me get set up here for a hot second. Let me put the screen over here really fast. So, I have, interestingly enough, a couple of videos to make about my unmitigated praise for whoever's doing. I, Specifically, it's Paladin gearing design in general, but it also is like PvP design in general. 1 second, let me take a drink here. Perfect. One more. Yeesh. I got this incredibly potent lemonade, or not lemonade. It's like lemon tea right here. China does not mess around with their lemon teas. So I gotta drink it with, as is, and then with a slurp of water at the same time until I get it down enough I can put water in this stupid thing. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's do this thing here. So there's gonna be two videos kind of mashed. Literally, when I'm done making this video, I'm gonna go make another praise video specifically about Divine Steed and where I think they're going with it, and the trinkets and the PvP changes. This one is specifically about Lava Dredger. When I first saw Lava Dredger, we'll take a look at her really fast, but since I'm be talking mostly about her, I want to start here. When I first looked at Lava Dredger, I was like, this thing is a poor man's hand of rag. In isolation, Lava Dredger doesn't look that amazing. But after messing around with the gearing in World of Warcraft, my thought process always was with Lava Dredger, it was like, well, if you're a Shakadin, you'd prefer like, spell power or like a plus healing weapon and a plus healing shield. If you are a Reckoning Paladin, the thing is not that bad, but you'd prefer like a Hand of Rag, for example, or if you're forced to go defensively for whatever reason, you might go with, the situation might be dire enough that you want plus healing weapon and a plus healing shield. Turns out, however, that the new Lava Dredger, and Lava Dredger has always been one of my favorite poor man PvP weapons for anything that is not a Reckoning Paladin in Classic WoW. Turns out she has more HP and about as much intellect, and more importantly, she has almost as much plus healing as your one-hander options. So if you go with a Malistar's Defender and you go with a one-handed healing weapon, this is even a decent one-handed healing weapon because she's nice and slow. She's 2.7 weapon speed, which means even a Reckoning Paladin doesn't mind taking this thing too terribly much. Her damage is low, but it's a healing weapon. Your damage is supposed to be low on a healing weapon. What really matters is that they're slow, as opposed to having a high amount of DPS. In total, this is like 104. And if I click this really fast, I swap over to the new Lava Dredger. The new Lava Dredger has 84 plus healing. She's got the same amount of mana per second as the Malistar's Defender. And she's got slightly more stamina and slightly more intellect. And she comes with a little bit of fire resist baked into her. Because she is a healing weapon, she is low on the DPS. She's higher than a one-handed weapon's DPS for this phase, but she's lower than the two-handed weapons by a considerable amount. What's worse / better is that she is a 3.2 weapon speed. Now, I first said that I would prefer it if it was the old 2.9 weapon speed in like a previous video. That's only because of Seal of Martyrdom prefers, like, faster weapons, a slower weapon speed, a faster weapon speed. However, I completely forgot that 3.2 weapon speed is actually a bit of a sweet spot for weapon speeds. Kalmandor's Revenge, for example, is 3.2 weapon speed, and I made an entire video on how much I love that. So at 3.2 weapon speeds, you only have to wait 0.4 seconds after smacking somebody in melee before you can stun them for 6 seconds. And within those 6 seconds of stun, you can get 2 more auto attacks into the target. She will easily allow you to get, if you're going for the Wombo combo, let's do the Wombo combo here really fast. The Wombo combo is a 6-second stun into a 2.5-second, the big one, bomb stun for a total of like 8.5 seconds. And I think if you divide that by like 3.2, you're getting very, very close to having extra auto attack in there. Hey, relax. So yeah, so 3.2 is a bit of a weapon sweet spot because she allows you to get an extra 2 auto attacks into your 6-second wreck bombs, or just like time on target as a Holy Shock Paladin or a I'm suddenly thinking, do I want to throw Ret Paladin into the mix? I'm not sure I want to be a Ret Paladin and use this mace. However, I am aware that 3.2 weapon speed on a Ret Paladin is not the worst thing in the world. So, really, really good weapon speed. The other amazing thing, of course, about a 3.2 second weapon speed is that they're very easy to get off an extra auto attack, even inside of a 3-second stun. So you can do annoying things. Like 3-second stuns are kind of rare, and they require some build-up time. Like it's really hard to grenade somebody when they're physically on top of you. It's easier to bitch slap them, goblin mortar them, bitch slap them again at 3.2 weapon speed. 3.2 weapon speed is just a really, really, really nice weapon speed in the grand scheme of things. There's also Repent to think about. Let me think about this. Would I want to break Repent early for extra weapon damage? I don't think I would. No, never mind. Okay. Take a drink of water here. Yeah. Okay, other amazing things about this weapon. She has fire resist on her, and in isolation, the fire resist isn't really worth noting. You prefer Hand of Rag, but there's some things that very quickly begin turning it into Lava Dredge's favor. So, for example, I am literally out in Ajara like 6 hours a day right now trying to mine arcane crystals and getting horrible RNG to the point where I'm wondering if there's like a bot teleporting around under the world and checking to see if there's an arcane crystal in the first tick of the mining veins, because that's the only way I can make sense of my RNG so far. But the whole time I've been doing that, I've been thinking about Lava Dredger for like the past 24 hours. Because she is the poor man's Hand of Rag. So the major issue with Hand of Rag, let me just read Lava Dredger in case you can't see what's going on here. She's a 3.2 weapon speed. She does 57 weapon damage, which is low for a weapon, but it's also not bad for a healing weapon. She has 25 stamina on her, which is a shit ton of stamina for a two-handed weapon. She's got 24 intellect, which is a shit ton of intellect for a two-handed weapon. She has 15 fire resist. To compare that to Rag's like 32 fire resist. And then on top of that, she's got 84 plus healing on her, and she's got 9 MP5. This weapon is pretty goddamn good. But you compare that to like a Hand of Rag, for example. Ragnaros's Rag has 80 weapon damage, which is it makes her a viable weapon. Even comparing it to like Nax geared weapons, like Mina Minithil's like 95. I do believe Bone Reaver's Edge here I think is 75. I think Ashkandi's is like 77. Yada yada yada. So she is competitive with some of the best weapons in the entire game. She has a proc on hit, making her really competitive with some of the best weapons in the entire game. However, her two claims to fame are that she's heavy. She has heavy fire resist, but she has very low stats. She compared to other weapon options, she's very, very low in the stat category. She only has 12 strength and she has 12 stamina. It's the low stamina that really, really hurts the Rag build. And that's why whenever you see Hand of Rag being used, she's almost always used on a fire resist build Paladin. So we're talking like 5-piece tier 2, 2-piece marshals, and like a 2 to 3-piece marshals and like a thick obsidian breastplate, right? The reason for that is because she desperately needs to be used with fire resistance. Otherwise, the low stats on the weapon basically make her kind of non-viable. So the hybrid gearing builds for Paladin do not use Hand of Rag because they are not fire resist. If you're wearing like pure tier 3, you would not use a Hand of Rag because it has no fire resist on tier 3. I wish it did, but it doesn't. And instead, in those builds, you're using Might of Minithil, you're using just some weapon that has really thick stamina on it, slow with a lot of damage. But that brings us to Lava Dredger. Lava Dredger is not fucking around with the stats. And she also comes with 15 fire resist on her. And at some point in your gearing options, stats become better than resistances, right? The other thing to note is that the Hand of Rag builds try to get 200 fire resist, specifically because they're trying to over-gear in the fire resist category to try to compete and compensate for the fact that Spell Pen exists in the game, right? So your enemy, typically your enemy will be running around with about 40-ish Spell Pen. They never go 60 Spell Pen, and even though 60 Spell Pen or more is possible in World of Warcraft, you will never run into any class that is going over 40 Spell Pen. The reason for this is because 40 Spell Pen is the amount of spell resistance that Mark of the Wild gives. Let me take a drink here. Double drink. Damn, that thing is potent. You go 200 fire resist because you're trying to get your fire resist to be about 160. 160 fire resist is a 40% damage reduction, so it gives you a 45% chance to resist grenades and goblin mortars. If you're an orc, that would give you a 60% chance to resist grenades and goblin mortars. But the reason why nobody goes over 40 fire resist, Spell Pen, is because it costs way too much. It starts costing you trinkets, which is a huge cost, a deficit. It starts costing you, you have to literally wear a staff rather than like, an offhand and like a spell blade or something like that. And historically, the things that give you Spell Pen also are incredibly low in stamina, which means that, like, yeah, you have a lot of Spell Pen now, but you're also, like, hyper burst susceptible. So if that Reckoning Paladin even touches you, hell, it could be a Holy Reckoning Paladin with a Lava Dredger. If it touches you, you're probably going to explode. So nobody goes over 40 Spell Pen. They just get 40 Spell Pen and call it a day. It's very easy to get 40 Spell Pen at low opportunity cost. Going above 40 Spell Pen starts having significant cost significantly quickly. But that's like AQ gearing. That's not like Phase 1. That's not Phase 3 gearing, talking in classic WoW terms. That's not Molten Core. That's not Blackwing Lair. That's AQ level gearing. In Molten Core gearing, you don't need 120 fire resist. You need about 160 fire resist, somewhere around there. And that brings us to a topic of conversation with these trinkets. These trinkets are the reason why, when I'm done making this damn video, I immediately have to go make a video taking it all back about Divine Steed and praising Blizzard for their game design about Divine Steed and their PvP game design direction in general. These trinkets here, especially making them very easy for players to get. Like, for example, if this Onyxia Blood Trinket is not a drop off of Onyxia, but is like a quest reward or something for dealing with Onyxia. I forget how you get the Ani Blood Trinket personally. But this one is obviously exalted with Adraxian Waterlords. Gives you an insane tanking a trinket. These trinkets right here make Hand of Rag both overpowered and completely not needed at the same time, especially in conjunction with Lava Dredger. This gearing right here is 100% centered around getting as much HP on your Paladin as is physically possible in Molten Core. You can see it has 5,600 HP in a world where 4,500 is considered to be a lot of HP. But if you notice, if I scroll down, you're already at 170 fire resist, just chilling with your fire resist aura. If this was a druid, for example, with Mark of the Wild, you'd also be at like 150 fire resist, which is plenty of fire resist. In a world where Spell Pen doesn't really exist right now, this is perfect, right? So very quickly, you don't even need Hand of Rag. So I'm out here mining the mats for Hand of Rag when I'm aware you don't need Hand of Rag. And what makes this amazing game design, in my opinion, is that... damn it, what the hell? Oh, okay. I suddenly need to clean my glasses. 1 second, let me pause the video here. Really? No? Here we go. All right, we are back. Let me try to remember what the heck I was talking about here. All right, I was talking about the new tanking trinkets. So a wet dream of ours, both me and Dracova's, and Talrain's as well, for Paladin PvP and Classic World of Warcraft is if they ever put stamina, just raw stamina on trinkets. God forbid they ever put raw stamina on trinkets in conjunction with fire resist. The game would be just Paladin would be just completely broken, and those would be by far the not even by far, they would be competitive BIS trinkets to take. And lo and behold, we have these. We have the one thing that me and Drakova have always wanted in trinkets on a Paladin, and here they are. There's not just one of them, there's two of them, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. And does that come with hit for spells and attacks? Like, what the fuck? I'm like, all right, I'm down, I'm game. So I have to spend a little while talking about it. So, but I really need to talk about it in the next video with Divine Steed. This video is supposed to be about Lava Dredger. The TLDR on these trinkets is that it's always been a bit of a problem in trinket design for Classic WoW, in that every trinket you put into Classic World of Warcraft has to be compared for PvP. Has to be compared power level wise to the goddamn Goblin Mortar and Tidal Charm. And you could throw a Burrower Shell in there if you want to as well. The reason why it has to be compared to those is because stuns in the Classic WoW very bursty meta are both they're your best offensive damaging trinket, they're your best catching mechanic trinket, and they're your best defensive mechanic trinket, right? So if they how do I put this? Like, what is a 3-second stun worth in PvP if you really think about it? You could literally pick up Goblin Mortar or Tidal Charm and put them into, like, Dragonflight or the War Within or any expansion whatsoever in all of World of Warcraft's history, and they'd probably be competitive with any other PvP trinket possible in that entire expansion, if not the best one absolutely possible. Because 3 seconds of stun is worth 3 seconds of DPS. It's also worth 3 seconds of distance closing. It's worth 3 seconds of healing. It's worth 3 seconds of running away in a straight line. Like, what the fuck? 3 seconds worth of stun is an insane thing to have in any PvP game there is, period, end of story. Yeah, if it literally was an item in, like, League of Legends, it would still be completely broken. Honestly, like, oh, it's on a 5-minute cooldown, but push button and the enemy is, like, stunned for 3 seconds. Yep, that'd be broken in League as well. So how do you make trinkets even remotely compare to that on a PvP level? And that's a topic I have to get into in the other video. But from a Lava Dredger's perspective, how do I put this? Okay. The moment you put trinkets like this in the game is the moment you've put trinkets into the game for just about every class that are competitive to take against a Goblin Mortar, Gnomish Netomatic, a Tidal Charm, and Burrower Shell. These trinkets are competitive with some of the best PvP trinkets in the entire game. They're also amazing for burst protection because they have fire resist on them, right? So if I'm playing Shaman in Season of Discovery, I'm drooling over these trinkets because I can now do what Paladins do with their fire resist, and I can also be like an Orc Shaman for an extra 15%. Like, as a Paladin, this is a 45% chance to resist grenade stuns. As an Orc, this would be a 60% chance to resist grenade stuns. Or I gear differently, and I don't have Lava Dredger, and I don't have as much fire resist, but I can still easily start hitting fire resist breakpoints for, PvP purposes. If I'm a Druid and I have, like, Mark of the Wild, that this is fucking insane and absolutely amazing. And if I get my hands on a Hand of Rag, it's even more amazing. What's better is that these trinkets they're making you weaker in the burst, but they're making you stronger as an anti-burster, and that's also a good point of PvP game design. I'm probably going to just repeat myself at length in the next video that I'm going to make. Divine Steed in particular, right? Right, so you end up with an interesting meta where some classes can take let's say a paladin decides to take burst trinkets or catch me trinkets over these trinkets. They're going to be much more susceptible to enemy burst. So they're playing they're gearing as a better burst build, but they're more susceptible to being bursted themselves. And this story plays out for basically every class in the game, except for like rogue and except for mage. Mage can blink out of stuns, so they don't really care about Goblin Mortar and Tidal Charm and that whole thing in general. They're also a bit of a burst class themselves. They might prefer burst trinkets over two trinkets like this. The other one that comes to mind is Rogue. They already have enough CC that they might just prefer burst trinkets over trinkets like this. Every other class in the game will be looking at these two trinkets going, Jesus Christ, do I just take these trinkets for PvP forever and a day? I mean, 40 fire resist is actually no joke in PvP for resisting stuns and whatnot. Maybe as a warrior, you might not want to do this, but as a warrior, you might also want to do this. But druids, shamans, paladins, what else comes to mind here off the top of my head? Right, so there's 3 classes that want this, there's 2 classes that don't need this, and there's 9 classes in total. Which means that hunters might be doing something different, but even hunters might take this as well. The thing is, even without the fire resist, the massive increase in your stamina just gives you burst protection, and if you're gearing to be able to survive the burst and the enemy is gearing not to be able to survive the burst, it's just good game design. I'll talk about it more in the other video. But all this is basically pointing to the fact that you really don't need Hand of Rag. You can probably just use a Lava Dredger and be perfectly fine. Now, it depends on what variant of Paladin you want to be here. It dawns on me that I haven't... this whole video is basically me praising Blizzard, but I actually haven't praised Blizzard yet. So, whoever is in charge of Paladin weapon design and Paladin gearing design in Season of Discovery, we've all known this, needs to be like praised and worshipped, like, we are not worthy, Wayne's World style. They're probably a Palytime fan. If they're not a Palytime fan, they're definitely a Paladin Discord guy. I imagine a lot of my ideas and stuff make their way over to Paladin Discord. If you guys wonder why I'm not in Paladin Discord, it's because the people who don't like me personally make their way over to Paladin Discord. So I figure, they should have their own space to do their own thing somewhere. A lot of people that watch me like to take my ideas and turn around and pretend that they're their own. It just is what it is. Let's see here. Moving on. Right, so they've been giving us fast one-handed weapons. They've been giving us fast one-handed weapons with spell power on them. They deserve to be praised for that. Whoever made Lava Dredger the way Lava Dredger is deserves to be praised for that as well. Especially in conjunction with the Lava Dredger weapon is 100% like a PvP weapon. It's not PvE designed whatsoever. The reason why they deserve praise is this, right? If you're a Holy Shock Paladin, what kind of weapons are you using? You're using one-handed sword and shield weapons. You'd prefer the one-hander to be as slow as possible because you may or may not be using Crusader Strike, right? So, however, you also want to have access to a really fast one-handed weapon in case you want to go spell power and use Seal of Righteousness, right? And then Blizzard, whoever's been game designing for Blizzard, Paladin, one-handed weapons, has been all over that like wine on rice. We have access to 1.3 one-handed weapons with stats on them, which is beautiful. We have access to slower one-handed weapons for healing purposes, which is beautiful. We have access to shields with plus healing on them, which is absolutely beautiful. But then somebody was also nice enough to remember that you might want a two-handed weapon that is also stamina intellect with plus healing on it. Honestly, if you played Paladin long enough, you learn to love Marshals. I think it's the Grand Marshals Demolisher. Is that right? Yeah. So if you like Holy Saxy Boy runs around with the Grand Marshals Demolisher all the time, you learn to love weapons that are kind of in that weird mix of stats where they're stamina, intellect, spell damage, or healing, but they're still kind of a big beat stick. And Lava Dredger is somewhere in the middle of that. Holy Shock. This is a weapon that you don't really use as a Holy Shock build so much as you... this is a Holy Reckoning weapons dream, or a Heal Reckoning weapons dream, which are both basically takes on... Heal Reckoning is just modified Holy Reckoning. Why? Well, because what you're supposed to try to do as a Reckoning Paladin in PvP is when you're healing yourself, you're healing yourself with a two-handed weapon because you want to rack up the Reckoning charges. And then when you make contact with the enemy, you put the two-handed Wreck Bomb into them, and then you immediately swap into usually like a one-handed weapon that's more well suited for finishing out the fight. Whatever that is, right? Whether that's a Flurry Axe, whether that's a Akari Manslayer, whether that's a Mug of Hurt to slow the Druids, whether that is an Edward the Odd. So you're healing in a two-handed weapon and then putting into the target. And the poster childs for best two-handed weapon for that Holy Reckoning playstyle is Hand of Rag and then the Grand Marshals Demolisher. Why? Because fire. You want some kind of defensive bonus on top of a really good Chad beat stick for delivering a Wreck Bomb into the target. And Grand Marshals Demolisher has some defensive stats on her. She will increase your plus healing. A Rag has fire resist, which also has defensive properties to it. Lava Dredger here fits the exact same bill, but she technically does it kind of even better. She will give you a weaker Wreck Bomb, but she is better on the defensive healing side of things than Rag or Demolisher. What's even better is that she's a 3.2 weapon speed, which is it's an ideal weapon speed for delivering a good 6-second Wreck Bomb into the target. Okay, yeah, that's the wording I'm trying to use. If you have to catch your target in a grenade and then Hodge stun them, she's also perfect at 3.2 weapon speeds. That's another thing worthy of considering here. So in a lot of my duels, you'll see that in Season of Discovery, I'm kind of just defaulting to grenading the target for 3 seconds, running up to them, bitch slapping them one time, and then immediately Hodge stunning them. And then going for Crusader Strikes and yada yada yada. If you have a 3.2 weapon speed, this is actually perfect because it lines up so nicely that you're going to get 2 auto attacks within that 3.2 weapon speed timer, because Hodge stun's only going to stun them for 3 seconds, right? The grenade stuns them for 3 seconds. That's just enough time to close the distance, bitch slap them once. Hopefully, like 0.2 seconds has rolled by at that point in time. You Hodge stun them for 3 seconds. You put a Crusader Strike into them, and then you're... that's plenty of time for you to Crusader Strike, Divine Storm, do a Judgment, and you'll get 2 auto attacks with this two-handed mace here. And she's also a mace that's probably your best mace for just standing there and healing. So she is a weapon that is absolutely amazing for Ret Reckoning, for Holy Reckoning, and Heal Reckoning specifically. The reason why I have to praise this game design is because weapons for the other Paladin specs already exist, right? Like Ret Reckoning and a Deep Ret Paladin want a different weapon design. Deep Ret Paladins actually really like fast one-handed weapons, but eventually they're going to get Ashkandi. And Ashkandi is like perfect for that. It's really good. Rag is also there for them. Bone Reaver's Edge. Let's put on a Bone Reaver's Edge here really fast. Bone Reaver's Edge is 3.4. Some Deep Ret Paladins prefer a slower build. Spinal Ripper is not the worst thing in the world. Actually, I don't want Spinal Ripper. What are we even doing here? Servo Arm. Kalimdor's Revenge. The good old 3.2? Yeah. Grandmaster, Grand Marshals. Untamed Blade, I think, is 3. Yeah, 3. Okay. Yeah. And we also got to talk about Faithbringer. So, this is also another interesting weapon design in Season of Discovery. Faithbringer is also amazing and might be one of your better Deep Ret Paladin builds, right? So, whoever is thinking about Holy Shock Paladin and what weapons they want is on the ball with it. Whoever is thinking about Ret Reckoning, Holy Reckoning and variants of Holy Reckoning builds is on the ball with what weapons that Paladin might want. And then you have to think about, well, Ret Reckoning. Ret Reckoning is just going to want the equivalent of Might of Minithil or a Grand Marshal's Claymore. They're just going to want the stamina thickest thing they can possibly put on with the slowest weapon speed that hits the hardest. Like they are literally ogres or gamer, 110,000% over there. Just a giant beat stick, semi-retarded ape. Beautiful stuff. Love it. But Deep Ret Paladins have slightly more nuanced requirements, especially in Season of Discovery, on their two-handed weapons. A lot of them don't really think about. And when I look at a weapon like Faithbringer here, let's just put it on really fast. When I look at a weapon like Faithbringer here, I'm aware that whoever designed this for Ret Paladins, like Deep Ret Paladins kind of specifically. Even Ret Reckoning loves this weapon. If you don't know, the reason why I'm basically saying this is because of the 3.7 weapon speed. This thing is a Grand Marshals Demolisher. Unironically, this weapon is a Grand Marshals Demolisher. You ever watch Holy Saxy Boy in his duels, in his PvP tournaments, he is wielding a Grand Marshals Demolisher. Every once in a blue moon, you'll see Drakova wielding a Grand Marshals Demolisher. The 3.7 weapon speed is an ideal weapon. There are a number of breakpoints in weapon speed that Paladins look for two-handed and one-handed weapons. For one-handed weapons, you want either the fastest thing you can get your hands on or the slowest thing you can get your hands on. With two-handed weapons, you are looking for 3.2 weapon speed or somewhere close to it. You're looking for 3.7 weapon speed or somewhere close to it. Or you're looking for the slowest thing you can get your hands on, like a 4.0 weapon speed. Like, those are your breakpoints. 3.2 for the reasons that we all just mentioned, right? You get extra auto attacks on your 6-second stun. You get extra auto attacks on your 3-second stun. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. 3.7 is a breakpoint when it comes to the traditional 7.5-second stun. So if you hodge somebody for 6 seconds and then you grenade stun them for another 1.5 seconds, you end up with 7.5 seconds of grenade stun. If I divide this by 3.7, you can see that we get an extra auto attack in there, like no problem. Like 3.7 times 2, blah. You get at 7.4 seconds, right? At 3.8 seconds, I have to be a little bit more calculated, but not that much more calculated, if that makes any sense. Like I can't full retard into the enemy and get an extra auto attack under those conditions. I literally have to run up to the enemy. I have to smack him in melee at least once. I have to wait a fraction of a second, and even more so as a Deep Ret Paladin, because your character has like a swing time animation, right? So math is telling you that you have to wait a tenth of a second on a 3.8 weapon speed in a 7.5 second stun to get 2 auto attacks in. That's what the math is telling you. Go try that in practice, and you'll miss your second auto attack every time, unless you are specifically a Reckoning Paladin. Because Reckoning, if you have even one Reckoning charge, it changes the mechanics of this a little bit. The reason why you miss your second auto attack is because the swing timer animation. The swing timer animation needs like 0.2 seconds of charge up time to really hit the to get the enemy hit in. So the enemy will be able, they'll have like 0.2 seconds worth of action time to healing potion or whipper-root tuber or something stupid like that. But you get used to it as a paladin, and you just get used to running up, hitting them, waiting like a 0.2 of a second, and then stunning them, and then going for the attack on 3.8 weapon speed. But you can't full retard it. You can't full send it, which is going to be like 90% of the paladin player base, right? Making 3.8 weapon speeds not super ideal. 3.7 is far more of an ideal weapon speed for two-handed play, both for Reckoning Paladins and for Deep Ret Paladins. It's especially a big deal for Deep Ret Paladins. The reason for this is because the Reckoning Paladins might, in Season of Discovery, they might default to catch you off of Grenade Stun into Hodge Stun. Whereas the Reckoning the Deep Ret Paladins are definitely going to be repenting you into Hodge Stun into Grenade Stun for the full 7.5 seconds. So a 3-second stun off of about a 3.2 second stun is going to be the bread and butter of any Reckoning Paladin, and a 7.5 second stun is going to be the bread and butter of any Deep Ret Paladin. And 3.2 is the ideal weapon speed for the 3-second stun plays. And then 3.7 is the ideal weapon speed for the 7.5 for the Deep Ret. And then, of course, Ret Reckoning just wants the biggest beat stick they can possibly get their hands on. Let's go. Okay, I'm wondering where the hell I paused the video there. I'm pretty sure I paused it when I typed in Reaper. Okay, thank God. Anyway, yeah, so I was trying to explain that the 4.0 Reaper thing is basically a Ret Reckoning Paladin's wet dream. So at that point, any weapon that you possibly could want in Classic World of Warcraft is at your finger, as a paladin of any spec, is at your fingertips to get easily. You don't need Hand of Rag as a paladin in Season of Discovery whatsoever, which is amazing. Yeah, if you're Ret Reckoning, you're going to go with the Spinal Reaper. If you're Deep Ret, Spinal Reaper is good, but honestly, the Faith one is probably better at 3.7 weapon speed. If you can get your hands on a Hand of Rag, it's also, that weapon is going to be your best PvP weapon for as a Deep Ret Paladin probably for the entire game. If you are some variant of Holy Reckoning, any two-hander with a ton of plus healing on it is probably your best two-hander. There's only two scenarios you're going to find yourself in. Well, that's not even true. No, it's literally BIS. I was about to say it's like, well, there's some matchups where you want to try to kill them in a Wreck Bomb, and then I remembered it's Season of Discovery, and I'm like, oh, never mind. No, your life as a Holy Reckoning Paladin is going to be heal, 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 heal. Let the Mana War or the Eye for an Eye do its damn job, and then you go for the Wreck Bomb, and then you go for the kill. And then, of course, one-handed weapons. You want nice, slow, plus healing weapons, and you want really fast one-handed spell power weapons. And pretty much nothing in between. So I'm tickled pink by the game design, and I have nothing but praise for Blizzard so far in their game design. And now that I'm done talking about that, I need to go talk about the Onyxia Blood trinkets in the other video. If you just want to watch this video and not watch the other one, the TLDR on that is that these are the only trinkets I could possibly conceive of that would be remotely competitive with Goblin Mortar and Gnomish Netomatic. And the moment you put these trinkets on any class in the game, especially something as immobile as a Paladin, is the moment that Paladin suddenly needs a gap closer, right? So if you're like, hey, we're going to give you these trinkets so you can now survive bursts in Season of Discovery consistently, the moment they do that, they have to give Paladin a gap closer, and since they did give Paladin gap closer, it's just great game design. And if I think about it in terms of like a Shaman, right? Now Shamans have access to these two trinkets, and they have Wolves as a gap closer, great game design. I think about it as a druid. They're already hyper mobile. They're the other ones that could really use trinkets like this to survive bursts, because that's the only real way you die as a druid, is dying in a burst. Great game design, right? Like everything here is pointing to great game design, and I just want to make a video talking specifically about that for PvP. So this video is long enough. I'm gonna end the video here. I got nothing but praise, and day is full, boys.